Hello.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
How are you doing today?
Welcome to Warm and Cozy Quilting.
Hello.
It's coffee talk here, Saturday morning,
Saturday morning coffee.
right? And we're going to not talk about coffee.
No, we're just going to drink coffee
Right.
and talk quilting.
Right.
I'm Jason.
I'm Danielle.
Hi, Danielle.
Man, I was close.
You almost had it. You really got real close this time.
Anyway.
So we're going to be doing some talking today about cutting with rulers because there's always conversation about people not comfortable cutting with rulers, or I'm afraid to start that project because I really love that fabric. So we're going to give you some tips on that.
Beautiful stuff.
Usually
Maybe
that's
it was,
how it goes.
Yeah.
And that's why if you're like, boy, the lighting seems different. It is. We have an overhead shot that we're going to be using.
Does the lighting seem
How does
different?
it look to you guys? Does this look okay?
Like?
Is it tolerable?
Is it not tolerable? We'll turn the different light on.
We're going to just deal with it today, but we won't do it again next time if you're like, oh my gosh, you guys look like you're heathens in a garage.
It's really dark on there. Yeah,
really dark on there.
Just tell me.
But while you're sitting out there getting yourself prepared for some information, please feel free to say hello.
Yes.
We have the comments here. We're going to say hi. We'll talk to you. If you have questions during the process, by all means, let me know. But yeah, good fun. Much brighter. Oh my. I love that idea. I wasn't expecting that answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because usually we have our regular overhead lights on in addition to the studio lights. Hopefully this works better. We'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully Sadie's watching and is taking notes.
Yes. Are you? I don't think she is. She's here tonight until 10 p.m. With our retreat group.
Right.
Our little sew-in group.
Mm-hmm.
We have spots available if anybody's like, wait, my weekend cleared up.
Last minute.
I want to come.
Yeah,
We've
3
got,
days.
We've got 3 days of sewing. It's nice. Very
so
nice.
much that can get done in 3 days.
Noon to 10 today. Tomorrow you can come in as much or as little as you want from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then Monday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So anyway.
So
she's doing the late shift is what I'm saying. She might be sleeping
it's
in.
Like 30 hours of like
so that's like
project
a full work week if you think about it. Like that's a full-time job in 3 days.
A whole lot of work. All right. So let's say hi to some folks, shall we? Oh, excuse me, dear computer. Oh, I don't know you. All right. Oh, good morning, Pam. Hello. Hello, Julie. Good morning, Carla. Hello. Hello 2.0. It is cold and rainy there. Well, the mountains, they do that.
Yeah. It was kind of rainy.
Cold.
It had rained.
Follow-up statement to that. You two will be the sunshine of my day.
Oh.
So nice of you, 2.0.
That's so sweet.
Hopefully, there's more fun.
Hopefully we do a good enough job to be to be considered.
Set that standard for us.
Oh man,
Good morning, LaDonna. Good to see you on there. Hello, April. Much brighter, yeah. No?
Okay, great. Okay.
We're gonna do
good.
Jumping around. Here we go. Good morning, Christy. Hello, Southern Illinois, Dolores. Nice to see you on. Yes, we wish you were closer. Also, Dolores. That'd be awesome. You come hang out with us.
For sure.
April here, Northwest Ohio. The sun just started to shine.
Oh, that's good.
Enjoy it. Way to send that on over to Tennessee. I bet they're real happy about that one.
Yeah, they need some down there. If you could ship it that way.
Good morning. Overcast morning to Eileen. Nice to see y'all. And then good morning, Nancy.
Nancy.
Hello, Nancy. All right. So, you let it go dead air while I drank my coffee.
I'm so sorry.
I was like, I'm gonna drink some coffee.
Okay,
maybe she'll take out the anthem. No, dead air.
It's over now.
It's over now. Now we're talking again.
Yep. So today we're going to talk about rulers.
We got to do our announcements.
Oh, we have announcements.
Always announcements. This is how we do it, guys. You know that. It's her first day. You gotta forgive her. You know why? Because the camera person today is me.
Yeah, so he's camera, comment. We got multiple screens. It's a little crazy. And we're going to do overhead so I can cut.
Right.
So, but somehow, between the two of us, mostly him, we got the whole setup figured out.
I like how you're going to
like going to tell you.
Yeah, I'm hearing this. I'm still in the room. We'll figure it out, guys. It'll be okay. So as you said, mini retreat is this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You can still sign up. Still got spots for that. This month is a 5th Saturday month.
Right.
For those of you loyalty members that are local and those of you doing your International Mystery Quilts.
Mm-hmm. It's International Mystery Quilt Day.
Mm-hmm.
we're going to kick off next year. So if you're virtual, definitely jump on next Saturday, not next Saturday, the 30th. At 9:30 and see what's coming for next year.
Right.
Pretty cool.
It'll be fun.
But you can come in okay. So we have made it very clear, I guess because we've probably done this for 7-8 years now.
Yeah.
That between Christmas and New Year's we're closed.
Yeah, that's pretty well standard for
So
us.
everyone knows that part.
Yes.
Right? So I had a customer in the other day who was like, but wait, it's 5th Saturday month and you're going to be closed. And I'm like, we're going to open just for you.
Right.
See? So we are hustling and getting inventory done in that time frame. Not that you care what
you
we're
won't
doing,
care about that part of it.
but then everything will be good and we'll be open on the 30th for International Mystery Quilt to show off your quilts and for 5th Saturday to get your bonus discount. Okay, I think that's all for that day.
All right. Speaking of loyalty cards for 2024 are available in store. You can go and pick up yours today. If you didn't participate and haven't participated in the years past, what that is that you can get this discount card. It's $50. It gets you 10% off your purchases all year long in store. It gets you a yard of free fabric once a quarter in store. It gives you the entire month. You can come in and pick whatever 1 yard you want. You don't have to specifically go one day in this little tiny area of the shop. It's any of the fabrics. You have a whole month to come in and pick it up. And then 5th Saturdays, which give you 20% off instead of the 10% off, which is also a fantastic bonus. If you're currently a loyalty member, you can get your next year card for your 10% off, which will be $45 instead of $50. And if you're sending in your family member to get that for you for Christmas, make sure they tell us who it's for, so we don't let them buy one if somebody else may have already bought one for you.
We're keeping a list.
We are keeping a list. Not saying this has happened, but it's happened. So
also, if you end up with 2 loyalty cards, just tell me.
yeah, we'll fix it. It's fine.
Okay.
And then last but not least, I feel like there was something else. Oh, yes. Shop samples. We still have some left. Still hanging. Come in, find one. Easy Christmas gift. Do it. Thank you. And
Good morning, Linda.
Hello, Linda. Thanks for jumping on. Please stop jumping. It's dangerous. All right.
Drink more coffee.
You do that. So, like I said, when we started, we always get conversations from people that are like, I'm afraid to cut my fabric.
Oh, let me show them this one.
I'm not good at cutting fabric.
So one of them I'm going to cut on camera for you today. Look how cute this is.
That is stinking cute.
It's got all these little space guys and they're doing fun stuff. They're hanging stars and they're...
All the outer space things. I mean, because the stars didn't hang themselves. Somebody had to put them there.
Right.
So these little guys.
You get this pretty
Space
fabric
gremlins.
and then you're like, ooh, what if I cut it and I cut it and I cut it wrong?
Right.
I've paid, $12.
I think that's the thing to this, too, is that we pay good money for good quality fabric.
Fabric has gotten more and more expensive.
I don't want to botch it. I got just enough.
Yeah.
So there's a fear that will set in, and we have to power through that.
Right, you got to power through.
So we've all been there. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. But in the words of the great Cat Stevens, the first cut is the deepest.
Oh.
That has nothing to do with quilting, but fun facts. First cut is the deepest. You know this song. I know you know the song because this song has been around since 1967 when Cat Stevens wrote it.
Right.
Now, he wasn't the first to perform it. It was actually done by an artist name. Her name was P.P. Arnold. She's an American soul singer. She released that album or song in April 1967.
But you just said 67.
It's when he wrote it. She
sang it, performed it the first time. Okay.
April 67.
Okay. I got to look that up.
Then Cat Stevens sang it and put it on an album in December of 1967. So he let her do it, and then he did it. Then Keith Hampshire did it in 1973. I don't know who that guy is. I didn't look him up. Then we all know the Rod Stewart version in 1977.
Right.
I mean, Rod Stewart, right?
Right.
Right.
You've heard of him.
Also, then this fellow named Papa D did it in 1995. Don't know him. And then my personal favorite version done by the impeccable Sheryl Crow.
Right.
Southeast Missouri's own.
Yes, because when you said that, I went, that's whose voice I hear.
Sheryl Crow's? I hear Rod Stewart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I like Sheryl Crow. She's an amazing artist. But anyway.
She's a Mizzou alum.
She is a Mizzou alum. She went
we have a kid going there
I know, right?
Next year.
Same category.
Yeah.
Fun. Anyway, how does that all tie into this, you ask yourself? I said earlier it doesn't really, and that's true. But there is a small tie-in, very tiny, but important tie-in. Cheryl Crow, born Kennett, Missouri. My mother, born in Kennett, Missouri.
I bet they were born at the same hospital because I bet there ain't a whole bunch of
not a lot of
hospitals.
I bet. Like one. So anyway, just kind of fun. Joyce,
and that still has nothing to do with cutting our fabric.
Still has literally nothing to do with cutting fabric.
Except that your mom's probably out there cutting fabric right now.
Because she is.
Whoop.
Big circle.
All comes back around. That's right.
Brenda says making that first cut is very frightening. It can be. It really can be. But we're going to talk about some tips, some pointers to help make that less stressful. All right.
Okay, so we missed Jackie. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning.
And hi, Joyce.
Hello, Joyce.
And I can't see.
I think that's that. Yeah. And then over here we got Eileen saying my granddaughter goes to Mizzou. Nice.
Nice.
She's also a fan of Cat Stevens. I mean, how can you not be? I mean, even better than Ezra sang a song and one lyric says Cat Stevens was the greatest singer. Like, even they knew it. So, obscureness anyway. Moving on. Good morning, Beth. Good morning, Jean. And Linda's working on her IMQ. Awesome.
I was going to talk more about music. Do we want to do that or should we just move
What do you got? Go ahead.
Well, just similarly, there's a song that was written by someone, performed by someone else, but the third person did it the best. Do you know this song that
I feel like you're going to be speaking about Prince.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
She's a big fan.
Prince wrote a song. Sinead O'Connor sang it.
She did.
Nothing compares to you.
Me?
Nothing compares.
Oh.
It doesn't. Then he did it also.
Oh.
I mean, he wrote it, so he did it too. And then, oh my gosh, I forgot his name.
Chris Cornell.
Chris Cornell did it the best. Okay, the end. Nobody cares about this. Let's talk about quilting. Let's talk about quilting.
Totally took off our
It has nothing else to do with anything except that there was another song that was written and done by multiple people.
Eileen told us not to forget Harry Chapin. Unfortunately, I can't forget him because I never knew who he was. So I'm sorry. I only went off the information the Wikipedia gave me, so I'm going to have to look at. Let me just scribble this down.
Write that down. Right
here.
Write it down. Harry
Chapin.
Looking it up.
Exclamation. It's done. All right. Jackie, you got some Tula fabric you need to cut. I'm going to tell you what.
Tula, I mean, so
it's beautiful.
I hear that about Tula fabric that people get real nervous about. And Tilda. This is another, we don't carry any Tilda. We talk about it frequently.
Talk about it.
It is more expensive even still. It's some Liberty fabric that's really hard to cut. Those things that you know are going to be tough to replace if you mess it up.
That's okay. Those are
the tough ones, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so first thing you're going to want to do when you're getting ready to go cut your fabric, what's the very first thing you want to do?
So you're going to want to prep your fabric, right? Nope. Oh.
No, first and foremost.
Oh, you got to buy the fabric?
Well,
I mean, yes. I don't know.
If you don't have it, you can't do it.
And maybe get a little extra. So first thing you're going to do is read that pattern.
Read the pattern. Number one, start there.
Read the pattern, read it all the way through.
Start to finish.
Read the pattern and understand the pattern. Sometimes I feel like we need a whole class just on that because
really,
I love you pattern writers, but sometimes you assume that people know what the heck you talking about, and we don't know.
Easy on there. I don't know what you're saying.
Right. So it's really about a read and understand. Just like I have a way that I like to do flying geese.
She does.
Patterns tend to not use that particular method, right? So they tell me to buy this much fabric and they tell me to cut these pieces and cut them this way. And then I go, yeah, that's not going to work for me because if I do that, then I can't do the method that I like. Let's say, for instance, you like to make half square triangles 4 at a time.
Okay, I like that method.
That method, you have a larger square, you sew around the outside, cut, and you've got 4 of them. So it's kind of magical, right? But if they told you to cut a 2-inch, but you need really a whatever to make that work, you want to know that before you start cutting. We've had lots of our mystery quilts where they say cut 144 2.5-inch squares.
Right.
And then you realize that you could have pieced 2 long strips together, cut them apart. That would have been way easier.
So much easier.
Now I've got to take these 2 inch squares and get them to line up just right every single time.
Right.
Would have been easier if I didn't have to do that as right. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand what do you understand what she's saying? Because I
yes,
think
please let me know if you don't. So if so it's good to read through the whole pattern and go, okay, where is that piece that they're telling me to cut it 2 inch? Where is that going to go? Do I want to cut it that way? So sometimes that kind of stuff takes you a little while to before you are a quilter that can do that. So a lot of times I just follow the pattern, right? So it told me to cut 144 squares. Really early in the beginning, we had one that was exactly that. Yep. And Carla cut all of them. And then she put the whole quilt together and she goes, I wish I would have read the whole thing. So even Carla, who has done this a long time, longer than me, myself, I've cut things and then went, that is not how I wanted to do it. And now everything's cut. The pattern writer has written the pattern, and you can do the quilt the way that they've written it. Right.
I think that's the important thing to remember, especially with a lot of patterns, are that they're written so that if you really don't know another method, it's going to work.
Right.
It'll get you to that end result that you want, maybe a little bit longer than it would take somebody that's done this for years and can reassess.
Right.
And go, oh, wait, I can make that easier on myself.
Exactly. So that's one thing that I don't want you to be worried about if you are new and you're like, well, I'm not going to know. And so I guess I can't even cut because should I not cut those 144? Just go ahead and follow the pattern writer.
Yeah.
And
we're not piece shaming.
Right. No.
You got to do what you got to do. Follow the pattern to the T.
Absolutely.
You're going to be right.
You're
just
still
good to read it and know what you're
doing. And sometimes I've gone, okay, I don't really understand how they're going to do this. So I will try to figure out, okay, you are making 20 blocks in this quilt. They're all the same. Let me figure out how many pieces I would have to cut to make one block. And then maybe cut scraps and make a block. So that was actually
point number 2, helpful point. Went right into that.
Yeah.
So say you've got a limited amount of fabric. You bought 1 yard of that super cute
You've got that Tula fabric.
You got that Tula fabric.
That you don't want to cut wrong.
You've got one and you know it's not continued anymore. You're not going to find any more unless it's like $80 a yard, which insanity.
Oh, which you found some.
No, I did. It was wild
to me. Some old Tula on the internet.
Which is fine. Again, totally cool. Speculate, buy, sell, trade, whatever you do in your life. It's awesome. But you don't want to take the chance with that cut the first time on a fabric that's going to be not replaceable. So make a scrap version of it. You've got scraps laying around, even if
maybe
you're new.
You don't. Even if you're new and you don't have a lot of scraps, I mean, hopefully you just made a quilt and you've got some.
Or somebody donated a lot of fabric to you. You're like, oh, I'm going to get into that. Even if you haven't.
Right.
Go to the quilt shop. Get yourself some clearance fabric.
Right.
Get yourself that stuff that's like $7 a yard.
Get some fat quarters that you don't even need a whole yard of, that kind of thing. Just so that you can do this method where, I kind of read through the pattern and I go, okay, so this particular block's going to have a flying geese on 4 sides and it's going to have squares on so how many do I need to cut out to make that happen? Or just try to cut out, okay, it says cut dark, a whole bunch of them. What if I cut like 5? Is that going to work? And just try it out. Yes. That way you're not, I don't know how many times, because let me tell you, the pattern starts like this. Cut your fabric. Sew your fabric. You're done, right? Cut your fabric and then sew it. And then I'm like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have cut that way. There's no uncut button. Dude, can't reverse.
Was.
Right. No reverse. No rotary cutter backwards and it sews it back together.
It's like slide it backwards and just kind of peels it back together.
Doesn't work.
That'd be nifty.
So, also, one more thing, and I'm sorry that I'm throwing this in there. We are getting the next line of Tula fabric.
It's coming.
It's coming in April. And it's called the whole thing. And it's called Roar.
Roar.
That's
the only reason we got it, because it's roar.
It's dinosaurs and it's so cool.
I'm excited about it.
And it's a short line, so
it's been a minute since I've been excited about the Tula line. Not gonna lie. I'm not it's not my wheel, but
anyway, so we've got Tula fabric.
It's all coming. It's all coming. We're gonna have all of it. It's gonna be great. Sorry, that was a fun side. Left turn. So if you want to come buy fabric that you won't cut. Right. It's totally fine.
It's fine.
It's doable. So Also, I mentioned on this too, if you're considering the idea of piecing a block ahead of time, just more of a matter of practice when you go to buy fabric. If the pattern says you need 1 7/8, get extra. Go to 2. Go to 2 1/2. If it's a blendery material, not necessarily a print that you'll probably never use again,
right?
Get extra.
You've got a solid yellow.
You'll thank yourself later for having
big deal
extra
if you
laying
have
around.
if you have some extra.
So not a bad idea to have that. That way you can start that scrap pile. If you don't, if you're still new to this,
I will tell you that most pattern writers have built in a little extra.
A lot of the times they do,
but not a whole lot.
Not
and also sometimes I'm like, I don't. Anyway, sometimes I wish that they had like a whole extra cut, not just 2 more inches. You know what I mean? Like now I'm not,
like
yeah.
So yard.
Right.
Anyway.
So.
All right. So then you've got your fabric ready to go. You know what you're going to work with. You've read through the entire pattern. Now, what do we want to do?
So now you got to prep your fabric, right?
Yes. And what does that mean by prep your fabric?
So if you are going to start your fabric before you cut, or if you want to start your fabric, you have to do it before you cut.
Correct.
You can't cut your fabric and then starch. It will distort. So fabric tends to shrink up one way and not the other. And if it has a print on it, it might go, get a little bit wonky.
Could be.
So starching pre-cuts, bad idea.
Not great.
Starching cozy cuts, great idea. So I have to cut some 5-inch squares today. So I have all of my 6-inch by half the width of fabric ready to go. Okay.
Going to be awesome.
So you can starch your fabric. If you're not a starcher, that's okay. If you are a pre-washer, you've got to do that before you do anything.
Pre-wash before you do anything else.
Right.
I mean, you don't want to start cutting and then pre-wash it because that doesn't constitute as pre-washed.
Right. Also, sorry, a lot of things that I'm
there's a lot moving around. That's okay.
You don't want to pre-wash, or you want to pre-wash and then starch, and then, so I am not a pre-washer. I wash after everything's done, let it all get done at one time together. So
correct.
That is how I roll. I do like starch.
She likes starch a lot.
Lately, I've been starching less because of my Laura Star iron.
Right.
So, because I can get things flat, and if I make a crease in it, I can uncrease it.
Right.
Because my iron is way awesome. Okay.
That said, if you're going to continue with the pressing or the prepping, you do have to press your fabric.
Right.
If you're using a standard iron, you don't use steam.
Right.
That will saturate your fabric. That will distort your fabric.
So if you want to use, so if you've starched your fabric and you want to press it before you're going to cut it, so pre-cutting, you can use steam at that point if you haven't cut anything yet, because if there's any distortions or anything, you haven't cut anything yet, and that's fine.
Sure.
So sometimes when you starch, if you starch and you don't wring anything out, because it's going to leave every one of them wrinkles in there, and they're hard to get out.
It's not fun.
So I hang mine to dry, but then it still is wrinkly. You know, you can add a little bit of steam at that point to get everything flat.
Yeah.
Then you're ready to cut.
Right. Once you have your fabric pressed. And now, good question for myself is, do you press every piece before you go to work on it?
Yes.
Why would that be?
I have, lately there was a fabric, and my mom said, cut me some 2.5-inch strips. I'm going to make,
I'm fine.
Okay. I'm going to make binding. Can you cut me some 2.5-inch strips? And I was like, this hasn't even been pressed. And she's like, it's fine. I would not do that. I would press it first. But also, it was going to get pressed in the binding making portion of the show. So she was okay with, I'll work around a wrinkle or whatever. If it's on the edge, it's going to get cut off when you miter anyway, it didn't matter. But for most, for me, it's 100%. I press it before I cut it.
So if you don't press your fabric beforehand, and there's a small crease hiding in your fabric before you start cutting, and
especially on the back side, right?
Right. You cut can't right see over that seam, that little fold, and then you take that piece of fabric off, and it does this.
And it does some little, like you got a little extra extra pizzazz.
Those
you don't want
kind
a
of things are not great, especially if you're going for a clean, accurate looking piecing cut thing. Because then, like, where's my edge? Like, here? I don't know.
Right.
So
I press.
You don't have to worry about that.
Also, I press the wrinkle at the fold right on in there.
You do.
Because I'm then going to take it and unpress it.
So something that we also didn't talk about in the prep of all this is you've read the pattern. You know that you're going to need, let's say, 8 strips at 2.5 inches. You know that's going to be a little bit over half a yard of fabric. Well, you've got 2 yards of that fabric.
Right.
You don't need to go prep that whole 2 yards.
Right.
If you're working on just this section right here, cut off just a little bit more than what you actually need to work on this piece. Cut that off and go prep that. That way you're not...
So generally speaking, even when I'm doing something where I need a bunch of 5-inch squares, I'm going to need some background fabric, and maybe I need 2 yards of background fabric. Well, I look at the math on how I have to cut that background fabric so that I can cut it off in chunks and starch it that way. I do not like to starch 2-3 yards of fabric. It's a lot, and it doesn't hang on my hanger very well, and it's a whole deal. So I would prefer to go, but then I look, the reason I'm saying look at that pattern again is that if it is in 2.5-inch increments or 5-inch increments or 4, you don't want to cut yourself at, let's say it's at 5s. If you cut a half yard, which is 18 inches, you can get to 15 and you have 3 inches wasted.
Correct.
So you're better off to go, okay, I'm going to go to 21, 20 and a half, something like that. Or I'm going to go to that 15 and a half or 16 inches. I'm going to give myself an extra inch and cut that off and cut it in chunks like that and starch it and press it in that manner. Because it is a pain. I really struggle with borders. I tend to not starch my borders. If I can get away with not starching the borders, because I don't want to, I don't want to try to do a 3-yard piece.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like eating an elephant. You just do it small pieces at a time.
Right.
One bite at a time. You don't have to take on the whole thing. It's crazy to do that. So, all right. So that's another fun little helpful hint on prepping your fabric. Okay. So you've got your fabric prepped. You've got it starched. You've got it pressed. You've got whatever you need to do with it. Now you're ready to cut.
Right.
Now you're ready.
Do you have your tools?
What tools do you need?
So you need a ruler, for crying out loud.
I try not to cry out loud.
So you need a ruler. I'm going to show you with the straight edge. I'm also going to show you with my stripology ruler.
Because that's what we do around here.
Because maybe you don't have a stripology ruler. Maybe this is how you do it, and that is totally fine. I want to show you how to use a regular standard straight edge ruler.
There are other options out there.
Yes.
You've got your Martelli. You've got your Omni. You got your Creative Grids.
So I want to talk about this Martelli one. Okay. So Creative Grids has... I hate that sound, but...
That is awful. Why are you doing that? I'm so sorry. My apologies.
Grippy,
please don't report us to the FCC.
Grippy on the back.
Oh.
Which helps to keep your
fabric from shifty.
Right, your ruler from shifting on your fabric.
Don't be shifty.
Okay.
That's my job.
But I want to show them. You're going to have to overhead camera and then probably come back, okay?
Yeah, got you.
Just that.
Give me one moment. I'm a professional, guys. I promise. Overhead. Oop, there we go.
So with your Creative Grids, you get everything lined up. You still could, I mean, you've got to push on it pretty good or let go on this side, and then you can bump that ruler, right? If you lose your measurement, you get everything lined up with your Martelli, and you bump the ruler, you take the fabric with you. You do not lose that measurement, but you are then using your mat to do your measuring, which I prefer not to do. I prefer to use my ruler, and I can't see through this, which makes me uncomfortable.
Right. So that conversation is actually the next part of the conversation. When it comes to cutting. Oh, we won't get there. Let's finish up our tools that we need.
Okay.
So you need a ruler, some sort of straight edge, be it small, skinny, big, fat, Martelli, you can't see through with the felt. Any of them are great.
Right.
Okay.
You need a rotary cutter.
Do you need a new fresh blade in that?
Good blades in it.
Preferably a clean, sharp blade. If you haven't changed it for 8 months and you've been using it every day, stop being cheap. Swap it out.
Right. always when I change the blade, I go, why did I wait so long? I mean, are you with me?
It's real.
So if you have this Omni that has no grip on the back, you have any kind of straight edge that has no grip on the back, there are fixes for that, right? There's little grippy things you can put on there. We had the little sandpaper ones. They've worn down. They have worn almost off. Handy Grip is amazing. And it's clear, which is the reason that I love it. So Handy Grip is, I mean, it looks white now, but that's because of the paper that's on the back.
Maybe they can feel it. Here, rub your screen.
Yeah, can you see that? Yeah, it's very grippy. Okay, for all my skateboarders out there, you know this goes on.
Former skaters?
Yes, yeah.
Raised a skater, you know, actually.
Right. So this is the same stuff that they use on skateboards that keeps your feet from sliding. And I know that nobody has any idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, you can cut this down to size, so you can cut it. You don't have to put one big giant piece. You can cut little pieces, and then remove the grip, and it's sticky to your ruler. Now, you can then see through that.
I'm going to say this. Clear is a relative. It's more opaque.
Right.
So you're going to be able to see color definition, but you're not going to see clearly straight through it.
Right.
But it still gives you better visibility than just a hard piece of something that you can't see.
Like this Martelli that has this, it's almost like moleskin.
It's just felt.
It's felt?
I think so.
Anyway, it really grips. It's not going to move, but you can't see through the ruler at all. So you just, so that's kind of frustrating to me. This one does have slits where you could measure over, but again, not my thing.
Not a big fan of cutting when I can't see.
So you get some Handy Grip. This goes great on the back of long rulers. It goes great on rulers you're gonna use for
helpful tip though.
Quilting.
Yeah, that's what this is for. Handy Quilter has little rulers for the long arm quilting. That way the stuff stays put. Super important. If you put this on any of your rulers and then you're going to store your ruler on top of other rulers, put some painter's tape over the top of it. This stuff is real aggressive. It will hold on to everything. It will scratch the surface of other acrylic rulers. So definitely make sure you cover that if you use it. April asked a really good question. What do I do with my blades when I've changed it? So here's what the best thing is I recommend. Take it and then take it with you to ninja practice and throw them at the other people. It's totally fine.
No.
If you're not a ninja, that may not work out well for you.
So we have a little silver container. I think we got them from Martelli.
Is that where they came from?
That is a 45 or a 60, and it just has a lid on it. We put the old ones in there until it's full, then we tape it.
Yeah, and get rid of it. Just more for safety. They're decent metal. You can, if you know anybody that works with blacksmithy stuff and likes to, fiddle around with that, you can always ask them if they can use it. It might, I don't know. I'm not a smith. I know nothing about metal grades.
Yeah.
But if you can make a razor blade out of it, I can imagine you could probably use it for pretty much anything else. So that's something I would also throw out there to you, maybe.
This is the other huge tool that I use all the time.
Oh, actually, I'm going to say this real quick. Back to the razor blade. What you could also do with it, plastic soda bottles, by the way, you could use that, kind of like cut a hole, put it in there, kind of like let them collect in there, and then just cap it and get rid of it.
Yeah, I
used to do stuff with razor blades all the time. So
similarly with needles, we use like a medicine bottle. We just throw old needles into the medicine bottle until that's full. So it takes a long time for that to fill up for you then have to do something with it.
Right. So how do you know it's dull? Well, because they can cut finger. You're absolutely right.
Right.
Just find a guinea pig. Tell me, does this hurt or not? No. Seriously, if you go to cut your fabric and you get skips or you have to go over it a couple times, you got a dull spot somewhere in there. It's not a good thing to have.
Any sawing shouldn't happen.
Any sawing action is bad.
But also, skips are generally what you'll see. And that just means that there's a spot in that blade that is no good. And it usually happens because you've dropped it, or when you, like on mine, my cover, when I close it, is that really protecting everything? Probably not. And if I throw it down, and it lands on something, or you go over a pin accidentally,
I've never done that.
Of those kind of things, you're going to put a flaw in the blade. And then when you cut, you'll have like every 3 inches, there's a spot that's not cut. That is definitely time to change that blade. Right. Also, when you change the blade and you go, oh, that's great, then you'll go, so remember what it was like this morning when I was trying to cut. That is when I need to change it,
Right. So that kind of goes back to Pam said she changed her blade and it was fantastic. Yeah, that amazing, oh my gosh, this is great. You waited too long probably.
Right, well.
But that's okay. We do the same.
Yeah,
sometimes
we do.
Around here.
And you know.
I wait till mom yells.
Yeah. We have multiple moms in the building that could holler at us if we have dull blades.
Yeah, it's real. It's real.
So, okay, ruler stickers.
Ruler stickers are a great thing, or something that helps you to see the line that you're aiming for.
So I was going to show you glow tape too. Glow tape is good. This you can see through. I was going to show you, but then I'm like, we don't have any, so maybe I shouldn't show you right now.
We're not going to talk. We can talk about it. It's okay to show it. It's something that we keep in hand, and apparently we've run out recently. We've had a run on it. People have learned about it again. So
it comes like in 3 different colors, and then you can pull off a strip of tape and mark your whole. Like, let's say you're going to cut at 3 1/4, and you want to make sure that you can see that 3 1/4, and you mark the whole ruler all the way down with this piece of tape. This tape is going to last you a long time.
Yeah.
So I always think that we have a whole bunch out there.
We do, and then people buy it all, and then we forget to check inventory properly.
So glow tape is really nice for being able to see your measurements. But I use my G-Easy ruler stickers. They come in multiple colors. This particular pack is the tropical. Did you know that there's tropical?
Oh, Lord, I didn't know that.
Wait. Fruity Fiesta.
Fruity Fiesta.
So this has a purple and a yellow and a pinky red.
Yeah.
This has blue, green, and pink. And you're like, I don't know. You're showing me. Let me show you this. So now you can kind of see. There's a whole bunch of arrows on one sticker sheet.
Right.
So the pack has 192 stickers. They go on and they remove, and you can use them multiple times before they start to curl up one end or the other, and then you toss them.
And you're going to show them on here how you've got that on there?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So I'm going to put my hand behind this one so you can see that. See, she put a little arrow on there so she can actually mark where it's at. It's just a nice little thing to have to kind of keep yourself in line.
It also works well on, my Stripology book, that the latest book, the Master Your Stripology Rulers, every page is cardstock.
Oh.
And the ruler stickers go on and come off without tearing the page. So it's really nice if you're trying to cut and you need to keep your eyes on this line,
right, to
put a ruler sticker there and to be able to peel it off. So
way cool.
Wonderful for lots of things. Okay, so let's are we to the point now? So I think I've showed you all the tools. I will tell you that my friend Sharon uses one of these. Do you use one of these when you cut?
If not,
weights,
you should consider it. Now, I've had people say that they use rocks, like large rocks, paperweight things. This is just a 2-pound weight, something that's going to help hold that ruler a little bit more steady.
So she puts it at the end of her ruler, like so that it holds that ruler, so that as she's cutting and she's getting further away from this hand, that the ruler is still...
There's still some down pressure. It helps out.
Move out of the way.
You can also get fun little tools like this guy. I'm going to overhead this one just because it's a big one. Here we go. So this is from Olipfa. It's a safety shield. Basically, it's a 90-degree piece of acrylic with an adhesive on one side. That's what this guy is here. So then you take that. It sits on the outside edge of your ruler. It gives you a place to keep your hand behind.
There's a lip here, so you're going to put your hand behind there. So that way you're not putting your
fingers out in front of your rotary cutter, because let's be honest here, safety is always key in this whole process.
Right.
And it's only 22 inches long, so it should fit on most of your larger straight edge rulers, which most everybody, if you don't have a large straight edge ruler, please get one.
Yeah, you need one.
You need one. They make your life better.
And it's, I have found that it's nice to have a wider one. I used to just get a 4.5 or a 6.5. I like this one that's 8.5. Works really nice if you're cutting borders and you want to open up the fabric. Maybe you're going to cut length of fabric instead of width of fabric.
Right.
And you want to be able to see, and you need an 8.5-inch border. You can see both sides very well. Anyway, I like 8.5 by 24 if you need a big 24-inch ruler. Okay?
Okay. So we've got our tools discussed. We know what we're going to do with them. Now it's time to start getting ready to cut this. When you put your fabric on your mat, I'm going to get this stuff out of the way. We're going to use... I strongly recommend, and have been told this is not a bad idea, use your grid, oh my lord, to your advantage.
Right.
You're going to be able to put your fabric on that grid.
Let me put these out of the way.
That's probably a better idea.
So also know that you should remove everything from the cutting table that you don't want cut.
Correct.
And so, you know, if there's other things on there, you want to get them off. So I have my fabric folded over, and I'm using a line on my mat to just line my fabric up to.
Yeah, and you can use one far away from you. You can use the one in front of you. It doesn't matter. Just pick one.
Yeah, and get your straight edge to that, and you've got it nice and straight. So I'm not using my mat to measure necessarily. I'm just using it so that I have a nice straight grid that's going to show me where my, you know, that my fabric is staying straight. I don't have it like this.
Right, we don't want that. That's no good. Unless you're intending to cut it wonky, then that will happen.
If you need to cut 60 degrees, and you can put it on 60 degrees.
That's a whole nother video. A whole nother video.
So, all right. Now I'm going to cut at this. I'm going to cut a clean cut.
Okay.
Right. I think I have this turned.
I think you're backwards. I think you would actually want to be cutting on the other side. So I'll take that. I'm going to flip that way. There you go. You're going to line yourself up to that straight edge there.
First, I'm going to do a clean cut. This ruler is
That's huge.
That's why.
Give me that.
So first, I'm going to get myself a clean cut. Let me, again, line this up on the mat.
Nice and straight.
So that I'm straight there. And I'm going to use just a line on the mat. I know I said, I'm not measuring. Again, I'm just using a line on the mat to get something that's straight. Okay.
Yep.
I'm actually going to come down a little bit because I don't want to waste fabric, right? But I don't want to waste fabric, but I also don't want to have to cut again. So you want to make sure that you have all 4 pieces sticking out, right?
Yep.
That there wasn't one underneath that's short. Straight on there, and now I'm going to put this on this straight line here and get everything lined up and cut.
And again, when you're cutting, you want to cut away from yourself. Don't throw that away yet. Don't cut towards yourself. If at any point you're cutting and you find that you're cutting towards you or your hand or something, stop. Stop. Don't do that. It's not good. Because a miscut piece of fabric is one thing. A bled-on piece of fabric is completely different, and we don't need that.
Right.
Don't do that.
So this particular ruler, I'll show them on the overhead when we go back.
Okay, I'm going to flip back over.
For this particular ruler, I like to have my hand about here.
Okay.
So on my 4.5 inch one, I would keep it so that my pinky finger was touching the mat.
Here you go. Let's
just show you real quick. So that my pinky finger was touching the mat. This way, these fingers are far enough away from that blade, right? Like I can't cut my finger. When I would try to do this, this one wants to sneak out.
That's how your thumb gets in front of it. That's how your pointer gets in front of it. Those two usually take the brunt of cutting. Right. So
don't want to do that. So the more that I can go this direction with this very wide ruler, I'm still going to do that, but I'm going to make sure that I'm in the center of the ruler, not necessarily way over here. Maybe then I have a tendency to push on it too much from the blade and get the ruler to move. So I'm going to stay more central. I still know, and the way that I have my hand arched, I'm not over the edge. So we're good there. Maybe if you get the 8.5 by 24, you need the lip
little safety
guard,
shield,
so you're staying out of the way of that. Let me give you that one back. Okay, so I need to cut 2.25 inch. Oh wait, you told me to keep this.
Oh, I just wanted to point out and show this. Why you want to cut a straight edge. You can see how wonky that edge is. So you want to cut a clean straight edge because otherwise this is what you're working with.
Right.
Okay, so that's why it's real important that you always want to cut yourself a starting 0 edge.
I also tend to like to open it all the way up so I can go, I have a complete piece start to finish, which means that I have a completely clean cut. Okay?
Good idea. Thank you.
So I have to cut 2.25. On my ruler, I see, let's see if I can get like this. Here we go. 1, 2, and then I have to find that 1/4 inch mark. So I've marked it with 2 green arrows, one down here and one up here. And I'm going to line them up on the edge of my fabric.
Yep.
And make sure that that edge is nice and straight all the way top to bottom. Looks good. And now I'm going to cut.
Now, some people like to use their mat for cutting up, and they use just the ruler as a straight edge. You absolutely can do that. Whatever makes more sense to you is completely fine. Pick one and stick with it.
Be consistent, because if you are switching back and forth, you could easily cut incorrectly. The lines on your mat are a little bit thick. So you could be to the inside of a line or to the outside of a line, and that's actually two different measurements, right? So you can see this is going pretty well, right? I mean, as long as I'm using a good blade, I've got my fabric nice and straight. I have some markings on my ruler to help me keep straight and straight on the correct line. I can keep moving my ruler and relining each time and make those cuts.
And that way we're not shifting our fabric and throwing off that edge that we needed so dearly to be clean and straight. Okay, and that's 4. I think we need one more.
I needed 5. Yeah, right?
5, yep. So we have a pattern that she's cutting this fabric for. So we are cutting fabric that is going to be used in a quilt here shortly. Not on video today, but...
So it's a 2-for-1, right? I get to show you guys how, and I'm doing my homework at the same time.
All right.
Okay, so
switch back over here.
I'm going to put this out of the way.
Okay. Easy enough, right? Straight edge ruler, easy, straightforward. Line things up, use your ruler to your advantage, use that mat to your advantage to make things straight and even. Okay. Also very important, when she was putting her hand on that ruler, if at any point in time you find yourself like trying to, with everything in your might, to push down and you're pushing really hard with that rotary cutter, 1, your blade's probably dull, change it. 2, things are probably thicker than you think they should be, and you probably need to unlayer that. Also, it's just fabric and a razor blade. You don't need that much effort.
Right.
It should be a fairly easy, smooth process. Okay.
If you're struggling, you may need different tools.
Right.
Change your blade, that kind of thing.
Reassess.
Maybe it's not the right cutter for you. I've had people who have a cutter that they just are really fighting with.
Yeah.
I think this next.
You want to do this one? That's fine. Okay.
Or what do you think? Keep doing the same thing. We got to cut strips too, so let's cut strips first.
Well, great. Which one? This guy? Okay.
And then I need the... Okay. So, ta-da! Now we're going to talk about stripology rulers.
So
I am going to similarly do the same kind of thing. Okay, so a stripology ruler. I guess I should introduce it first, yeah?
Just generally speaking.
So this is the XL stripology ruler. It has slits every 1/2 inch. It is creative grid, so it has that grip across the whole back. In between every single cut, there is grip. So lots of grip.
Yep.
It needs it. It's a wide ruler. You're gonna want that much grip. But it has slits every 1/2 inch, and you only have to line the fabric up once. You saw I had to move, I had to realign. It makes cutting faster because you're not having to realign each time. It also makes you way more accurate because you're not having to realign each time. Every time you realign something, you could be wrong.
Right. Every time you move that little ruler for that 2 1/4, there was a chance of...
Yes.
We don't want that.
Hopefully always, when you cut wrong, you cut too big. Because you can always cut down.
You can always take some off.
But, if I had gone to 2 1/2 instead of 2 1/4, that wouldn't have been that big of a deal. I can cut a sliver off.
Right.
So you can cut halves and wholes with this, but you can also cut 1/4 inch. So I could have done the 2 1/4 with my XL ruler. I'm not going to show you that today, but yes, you can cut quarters. You can. It's an amazing ruler. I use it every day. I probably struggled a little more with the long straight ruler because I don't use it.
Not as often. Not as often.
I use this ruler for everything if I can. So,
right. So we're going to cut this into...
I need 5 4-inch strips. So remember, I just cut 5 2 1/4. Now I need 5. So again, 5 cuts, right? So we're going to do that.
Let me switch over here so you can all see this as we proceed with the bore fill. So again, you're going to line up your fabric with your mat to make sure it's nice and straight. Use those straight grid lines to your advantage, as much as you can.
Nice and straight.
Nice and straight.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't care that this is a little bit, you know,
wonky. It's a selvage edge.
I'm using. You can use this, either the. Yeah, I guess I probably do actually care.
She does care.
So I'm gonna make this a little bit straighter. So now this part's nice and straight, which means this. That's good and straight. Good. So, because I don't want to get a wobble in my...
Wobbles are bad.
In my cut. So now I'm going to take that and go to a nice straight line. Across the mat. And I'm going to place my stripology ruler on top of this. And now, there are so many lines on this ruler, it makes it very easy to cut. Since this is dark fabric, I'm going to use a white line on my ruler to line up the top edge, okay? And then, but I'm gonna make sure that I give myself enough room to get kind of a running start a little bit, just so that I'm not trying to cut right here and I don't start cutting till actually here.
Right.
Does that make sense? So I'm gonna pick a white line that's kind of higher up. Should I move this up so they can see my cut? Yeah, there we go. Sorry about the reflection of the light on there.
Yay, cameras.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, so we're just going to line that up, and we're going to make some quick little cuts here.
All right. So I'm going to line up with this white line across the top here. And it gives me plenty of room down here. And I have used my green arrows to mark every 4 inches because that's what I need. And I'm going to start by cutting at 0. Slide this down a little bit. I don't want to waste too much fabric.
Okay.
But I do want to make sure that I cut through all of it. So now I'm going to cut at 0. And I'm going to, and you see how I walk across. It's just so that I don't bump into it. At 4, at 8.
Also notice that as she's cutting that, she's kind of rolling that edge into the pocket to go straight up the cut. You're not jamming it into those slots. It should go in nice and easy.
And I have all of them cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my piece at the edge.
Sliver. Just like that.
So if you ever thought, man, I don't know, those stripology rulers are expensive. Is it really worth it? I don't know if this showed you or not, but it showed me because I sure don't want to use that other ruler.
It took way too long to cut 5.
It took way too long. So this is actually for my binding also, so that's why there's extra. Okay. Now, let's talk about, am I good there so
I mean, that's
far?
really it. So the whole point there was, you know, not jumping between the ruler and the mat for your measuring your distance, making sure everything's held nice and stable, clean
zero
blade,
cut,
zero cut, all these things play together to make things work better so that when you do cut, you're not going to get those wobbles that are going to make things just not fun. Now, just because Danielle likes to show off, we wanted to show you how quick and easy this stripology ruler does for you when you're trying to do something.
Can I just have you hold this for a second?
Make 5-inch squares, because say you're going to do a mini cozy cut.
Right. So you know that we have the regular cozy cuts and we have the mini cozy cuts. And I have had some people who don't have a stripology ruler. They're new to this, to us. They haven't seen us before. They haven't met us before. They come in and they're like, yeah, but I wanted to buy 5-inch squares that were already cut. And then I talked to them about how, so you've made something with 5-inch squares, right? And they're pinking sheared on the edges. Last night I was like, we need one that I can show. We don't have any. We don't have any. I'm sorry. I don't.
You know what we're talking about, though.
Right. But they're pinking sheared on the edges, and they are never a true 5-inch square. When you are new and you're starting to work with a pattern and it says to use a 5-inch square, you sew it together. Now you've cut it and it needs to be this size, and it ends up not being that size. You think that you've done something wrong when really your fabric was incorrectly cut to begin with. So all of you have a stripology ruler. Just use that, right? So I'm going to show you here what I do when I get a mini stripology or a mini cozy cut.
All right, I'm going to flip over here. Ready? Here we go.
So I've prepped my fabric. It's been pressed and ready to go. So you can tell that these are not cut exactly the same, right? And maybe it's a little bit wonky. So I don't have a real good straight edge to line up to, but I kind of tried to get one of my edges of each piece of fabric on a line. And mostly I kind of also watch the end and I make sure that this is kind of straight.
Yeah, that selvage edge can be your friend.
That will definitely help. Because at this point, they are not squared up either direction. And I'm going to stack as many as I feel comfortable cutting, which personally, I could do the whole thing. But I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm going to show you what I would suggest, which is about 6.
Okay. Which 6 is fair because if you take a piece of fabric that's right off the bolt yardage, and you got selvage to selvage, and you fold that over in half, that's 4. Mm-hmm. Which is real easy to cut through. So just another 2 layers isn't that big of a deal.
Right. So I'm making sure that this is kind of even. This is not even. I know that. But that way when I cut my 0, I've cut all the selvage edges off. Okay. And I'm just going to make sure that it's kind of straight-ish.
Yep.
Now I'm going to move those out of the way.
Because we don't want to cut them.
Oh, I should have ended with a light one.
Ooh, you going to go 7? Oh, Lordy.
That way you guys could see it better. I could see it just fine, but I don't think that on the camera it's going to show very well in the dark one. I'm going to move it up a little bit too so you guys can also see that end a little better. All right. Now, I am keeping a dark line along the edge, but not exactly on the edge, right? Because I want to recognize that it is straight on the fabric, but I don't have any straight edges at this point. Right. So now I'm going to cut 5-inch squares, right? So I'm going to cut at 0 and 5 and 10, 15 and 20. Okay.
That's some real fancy math skills you got there.
Right? So I want to make sure that I have a sliver of each piece, which I do. If I had lined them up incorrectly or one of them was really wonky, I wouldn't have a sliver on there. And I also want to make sure that my selvage edges are all there, which they are. We're good. Now I need to turn these this direction and cut again. So I'm going to use the straight lines this time because now I do have 2 straight edges. I'm going to line them up. I'm going to butt them up really close together. So I can show you that I can cut them both at the same time. Sorry, I'm really invading your space over here.
That's okay.
Okay, so now I'm going to get a nice straight line across one of those cuts. And there's good too. Everything looks good. I'm going to cut at 0 and 5. I want to be able to tell that I have fabric on both sides, which I do. And I'm going to do the other 2 sets as well.
Nice straight edge going against the mat there. Perfect. Use it to your advantage.
I do love these creative grids mats because there is less lines, but yet there are still some lines, which is really nice to be able to line things up to have something to line up to, but it's not so many lines that it's a lot of visual noise. If you have questions as we're going along, if you're like, I don't know what you mean by visual noise, just tell me. So yes, I have these 2 sets that I am subcutting at the same time. So let's lift that up. I have half my cozy cut into 5-inch squares in that amount of time.
Couple minutes, it's all it took.
So, and they are perfectly 5 inches.
Right. Okay.
How was that?
It wasn't that scary.
Right?
You can do that. It's no big deal. Easy.
So now I've got my 5-inch squares that I can take to the pattern, and read the pattern and go to the next step. Okay, because that was quick and fast. And they are accurately 5s. They're not got pinking sheared edges. Makes me happy.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much the gist of cutting. It's not difficult. It's just a matter of practice. So the more you do, the easier it gets. Practice on stuff that you don't care about. Then go to the stuff that matters. That's fine. I mean, you can cut stuff into slivers. You get enough of that, you could pack that into a case of pillow sorts and then give that to the dog to lay on.
Yeah.
Your dog don't need something fancy, right?
Right. You want to just make a bunch of 1/2 inch or 1 inch or whatever, cuts, and then turn them the other direction so that I can see, okay, now if I needed to subcut that, how would I line that up? How would I cut those? Again, if you just have a straight edge, and that's what you're working with, that is just fine. We had a log cabin class, and everyone had to cut their strips before they came to class. And one of the students missed that step. Ooh. She didn't realize that she was like, I knew that you told me something. This happens, right? And I was like, it is no big deal. Let me have your fabric. I'm going to cut you 2.5 inch strips. The students who did cut their fabric, one lady said, it took me 4 hours to cut. She was doing a large, and she hadn't done a lot of cutting before. This was a new thing for her. And she had to cut all these 2.5 inch strips. She was doing it, lining up one at a time. And she was also doing one fabric at a time. She didn't feel that she could layer them on top of each other.
Which is fine.
I totally get that. I totally understand. When you are new to cutting, that is tough. She was so like, I wish I wouldn't have done my homework either, because we got the other students' fabric cut in, it was minutes versus hours. So she had even said, it was 4 hours, but I did have to stop because it was, like those kind of things happen.
I'll come back.
Like I gotta step away from this for a minute. And it is also very easy to make a mistake with that much cutting. You could easily move your ruler, be on the wrong line, cut something at 3 inches instead of 2.5, cut whatever. So,
okay.
What else we got?
That's it. We've hit that timer mark. We've actually gone a little over.
Oh, really?
We have. That's okay. If you have questions, you can always comment to the videos. We usually pay attention to those. If you love this information, but you hate trying to watch it on the Facebook, you can always go to the YouTube. It's streamed over there just the same. Way easier to find this stuff.
I thought about
hit
doing
the subscribe button, by the way, because we love to have the followers over there. It's great.
Yeah, for sure.
Helps us out.
I thought about doing a video just on how to cut your cozy cuts
I think we'll be
into
doing
your
something
10-inch
like
squares. And I'm probably just going to put it on YouTube just to, something that you can refer back to anytime that you want to prep your fabric and cut it and you're a little bit nervous. You'll have me there with you.
It'll be fine. It'll be great. Okay. Well, with that,
I think that's it for today.
That's all I got.
Let's go run the show out there.
It'll be fun. We're here from 11 to 4. Come say hi. Buy yourself something. A machine, a ruler, or whatever.
Right. We got all kinds of good deals on all kinds of stuff. 25% off all of your holiday and seasonal. It's online and in store. So I know there was a code. I don't know what it is.
Okay. It's in your newsletter.
It's in your newsletter. Go see your newsletter. Buy some fabric. Come see us. Whatever you want to do.
All right. We good?
Yeah.
Good. All right. We'll see you.
Bye.